Welcome back to Inside Boxing Throwdown or Inside Boxing Live, whichever you prefer. My name is Steve Johnson. I'm also the Denver Boxing Examiner. My partner, Aurelio Martinez, CEO of InsideBoxing.com. Aurelio, we had some good fight action this past weekend.
Boy, we did.
And more important than the fight action, we had some situations come up which we like more than that, controversy. One of the controversies with the fight, the main fight everyone wanted to see Saturday night was with the young kid from Cincinnati, Ohio.
Adrien Browner, yep.
Adrien the Problem Browner. And Adrien took on Vicente Escobedo, and the problem that the problem had was that he couldn't make weight. But we kind of thought that was going to happen, as did Vicente's people. They thought it was going to happen too, because I guess one of the problems with modern technology is that a lot of these guys take advantage of it. In the case of Adrien Browner, it was to his disadvantage because he let everyone know that how much he loves fast food and Twinkies.
That's right. That's right. But you know, the problem himself, the problems in boxing, if you want to call them problems, but the weight issue in boxing is not something new,
Exactly.
Steve. I mean, we've had that way back. Who was it? Joan Guzman.
Your favorite.
Just had the problem with making weight. Recently, you had Brandon Rios have problem with making weight, and the whole thing is.
Well, let's go back. We had Floyd Mayweather had problems making weight with the 101 Marcus.
Floyd and Floyd was similar to Adrien. He basically, I can't make weight. Here, I'm gonna give you some money,
Exactly.
and we'll just go on with the fight because I'm not gonna make it.
Exactly.
But anyhow, that problem has always been around boxing simply because of the way they work the weigh-in. They weigh in the day before, and when they started weighing in the day before, it was a safety issue. Okay, it gives the body time to rehydrate, and by rehydrating, it's safer than them going in dehydrated and trying to make weight. But it also presents this problem where fighters take advantage of that, where they weigh in, let's say, 130 pounds, and then end up going in the ring at 150 or 145. So many fighters that are accustomed to losing that much weight and drying out, you might say, are used to getting that advantage in the ring come fight time. So obviously, they'll have to look at that. Their hands are going to be tied, and they're going to have to look at that and go back to same day weigh-ins. Okay, people are saying, well, that's dangerous because fighters need time to rehydrate. But the whole purpose of the same day weigh-ins is so that they don't have to dry out. So if they dry out, then they're putting themselves at a disadvantage, and they're not going to be able to rehydrate. So the chances are they're not going to be able to fight at 100% in the ring. So fighters will now get accustomed to fighting at a more natural weight for their body. So I think they're going to have to go back to the same day weigh-ins. And, you know, you're still going to have some fighters that are going to try it, but, you know, it's going to be on them. They're going to end up losing more fights than they can. And they also put their career in jeopardy because they can get seriously hurt.
Well, in the case of the three names that we mentioned, Joan Guzman, Juan Marquez, and Joan Guzman,
Brandon Rios,
Floyd Mayweather Jr., Brandon Rios, and now the kid from Cincinnati. That's what I like to call him, Adrien, the kid from the Cincinnati kid. Okay, in the case of them, they weren't going to make weight if they got weighed the same way as were on the same day anyway. So what do you do with that? How do you deal with that situation?
Well, if they have to weigh the same day of the fights, then there's no way you're going to have Adrien fighting at 130. There's no way you're going to have Brandon Rios fighting at 135. There's no way you're going to have fighters that will fight to try to get the advantage of fighting a smaller guy. So they will fight up. So now you're going to have Adrien fighting at 140, okay, because he's not going to be able to rehydrate. So he's going to have to fight at a weight that he gets when he's in perfect shape.
No. What I was saying was that he comes and he still can't make weight. The fight is contracted to 130. He can't make weight. What do you do with that if it happens on the day of the weigh-in? We know he's not going to make weight. He can't make weight. you can't do anything other than fining. That's all.
No,
you can do.
well, see, in
Take
that
part of
case,
his purse.
in that case, you do the fine, you do everything else. Naturally, it can't be for any title because that immediately voids any title. So if the champion doesn't make weight, then he's stripped of the title. He loses his belt.
The challenger wins, and just like it is now, he
absolutely.
wins the belt.
But you can still make a fight because you always have that 5-6 pound variance that you have in fights that are non-title fights. Okay, when you have a non-title fight, for example, if we go to a local fight, usually it's the fight's contracted at 135, give or take a pound.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if a guy comes 2 or 3 pounds over, then they can still make the fight. Okay, but it's just not for any kind of title. So you can still do that. The people that get hurt in this, and
the
this
fans.
Are the fans, but more so the reason why they don't change, because the people that really hurt are the ones that influence boxing, and that's your TV, your HBOs, your Showtimes. They have the most to lose because they're putting millions of dollars into these high-profile fights,
Which are to be title fights.
Exactly, and then when one falls through, there's no way to recuperate that money. So the fight has to go on. This fight had to go on between Escobedo and Adrien Browner. It had to go on. I mean, HBO would have lost tons of money. Golden Boy Promotions would have lost a lot of money. It's just everyone would have lost, and there would be no way to recoup that money. So the fight had to go on, and you can talk about all the chaos and this guy's ready to go home and this and that. The fight was going to happen. Okay, too much.
It's just a matter of money.
Too much money involved, and that's why Escobedo, his purse was raised from $150,000 to $400,000. Okay, now you put the imposed fine, which
another $30,000,
which was $60,000, with half of it going to the commission and half of it going to Escobedo. Mm-hmm. Now he's $430,000 in his pocket.
Not a bad payday.
So you hate to take a loss and put yourself at a disadvantage, but where else are you going to make $430,000? Okay.
Well, I felt bad for Vicente because you saw in the post-fight interview he was very emotional. He was prepared to go in and give the effort that he thought would allow him to beat the Cincinnati kid.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I'm of the belief that after seeing Adrien Browner in his last 3 fights, I think that he needs to step up his level of competition. I think that at 130, I think that Vicente Escobedo still has a chance to be dominant. I just don't think that fighting a guy that comes into the fight night at welterweight at 147, it was just too much for him to overcome. Well, to be honest, Adrien Browner's hand speed, his overall skill, to me, was better than Escobedo.
That's my point. I don't know if I would say he still can be dominant. I think he can still be a major contender because he's not a bad fighter. Escobedo is an excellent fighter. He deserves to be up there in the top 5. And you touched on it. It's absolutely right. Adrien Browner is just too much, far and above when you talk about talented skill-wise for Escobedo. I don't think the weight really had a lot to do with it because when they went into the ring, they were both in their 40s. There was probably 3 pounds separating the two on fight time. Okay, so this is just a matter where the skill level of Adrien Browner was so much above the skill level of Escobedo. So Escobedo got paid and he didn't come out too bad because, like you say, he's going to stay at 130 and he's going to be able to be very competitive in that 130 weight class. And I think he's going to fare well. Adrien Browner, on the other hand, is going to go up to 135. I'm not sure how long he's going to be able to stay at 135.
Me neither.
Okay, so.
And not because of skill, just because of the competition. As far as I'm concerned, I mean, at the lightweights, what we have, he's already called out DeMarco, but he still has to deal with. I'd love to see him on a Friday night fight with Friday Night Fights main boy Hammer and Hank Lundy. Yeah, I would love to see him in that fight.
I predict he's going to go to the 135. Adrien Browner. He's going to control that division because your powerhouses in the 135 are gone. Okay, they're gone. You're talking about your Amir Khans and Juan Manuel Marquez, and even on a lower level that would give him a run for his money. You're talking about Mike Alvarado. They're all gone. They're not at 135. They're up at 140, thinking of even going higher than that. You know, you can even put Amir Khan in that mix. So what's left at 135 for Adrien Browner? The only one that's still technically at 135 is Brandon Rios. Okay, but Brandon Rios couldn't make weight in his last fight.
So he's done.
So don't look for Brandon Rios to stay at 135, because if you can't make weight, you can't make weight. Okay, so look for Brandon Rios to move up to 140. So Adrien Browner is moving up to 135 at the right time, and let me tell you why it's going to work for him. Because this kid, he's got an attitude. He's he's disrespectful. He's got that move, but he's got talent. This kid can fight.
Well, see,
this kid can fight.
That's where you and I disagree on Adrien Browner, because Adrien Browner, like you said, he's talented, he's skilled, you know, but that attitude that he's got, see, he puts his mouth before the cart with the horse, and so because of that, he's not going to be allowed to stay a lightweight for too long, really. I'm telling you, he's got John Molina, Hank Lundy. Let's see him go over to England and fight Kevin Mitchell. I mean, since he says he's all that, take your butt on over there over to the UK and fight Kevin Mitchell over there.
Do that.
Well, let's see if he'll do that. I don't think he will.
He can.
I'm telling you, he won't right now. I'm telling you, folks, he won't go over there and fight him. But that's me in the radio.
Yeah, he won't have a problem with that.
But I'm telling you, but those are not the only names that are left. Juan Marquez isn't going to fight him. Juan Marquez, I'm still believe that his last fight is going to be he and what's our boy? Damn, I'm just having brain.
Manny Pacquiao.
No. Juan Marquez and the other Mexican kid.
You think they'll fight again?
Yeah, no. Yes, one more time.
Okay, you're talking about Israel.
No, I'm talking about Juan Marquez, and it'll come to me in a minute.
Okay.
But anyway, that'll be his last fight. I think he knows he's on his last legs. Miguel Vasquez, he's done. I don't believe that. There's just nobody in the lightweight. Lightweight division is just.
That's my point.
Fairly blank, and that's why I say he can't stay there. So forget those names. Okay?
That's my
forget
point.
those names. Let's have him move on up to 140. And I'll tell you, there's some names that he. I mean, we're talking about names that I believe would knock him off. I'm not worried about it. I'd even say, well, like you said, Mike Alvarado. We got three guys from Denver. We got Mike Alvarado, Manny Perez, and Rob Frankel. I believe all three of them would give him a run for his money. I'm not impressed with the one thing about, you know me, everybody knows that I'm not impressed with guys that do all this talking.
I know.
He continually does all this talking.
And most fans don't.
That was my thing with Amir Khan. The same thing, all this talk, and he's coddled along. You see these fights that everybody's impressed with, and as you are, and rightfully so, everyone's impressed with Adrien Browner right now. But these last two fights he's had have both been in his hometown of Cincinnati. Okay? Let's see what happens when he gets away from that comfort zone. I want to see what happens when he gets, and that's why I say I would challenge him to go over and fight Kevin Mitchell over in England. If he were to do that, and Kevin Mitchell is a lightweight, go over and fight Kevin Mitchell in England, beat Kevin Mitchell, I'll be on your bandwagon. I'll drive the bandwagon.
But you can drive that bandwagon.
He won't go do it.
He won't have a problem with Kevin Mitchell.
He won't do it. That's why I won't have a problem, because he won't do it.
Yeah, but if the money's right, I think so.
Yeah, well, that's what everybody said. Now we're about if the money's right. No, Adrien Browner said, he wants to. I'm going to ask you a question. Why would he pick on DeMarco? DeMarco's a Mexican fighter, okay? Does he think DeMarco's going to come to Cincinnati? No, I'd be willing to bet you that he would go to Mexico to fight DeMarco. DeMarco doesn't really pose.
He doesn't pose a problem. I mean,
DeMarco's record 27-2-1. He's not anything like a Kevin Mitchell. What is Kevin Mitchell sitting at there at 30-1, 33-1? Well, he won't fight him. He won't go there and fight him.
Well, you can look for Kevin Mitchell to come to the United States. I mean, when you get to that point, it's all about money. Don't forget, Adrien Browner's got HBO behind him. Okay, they did the special.
According to him, they should change their logo to his face.
Well, yes,
right.
But this kid, he's got that's his demeanor. He's just one of them, and you've seen it before. I mean, you've seen it before. Floyd Mayweather does it. Muhammad Ali did it.
That's the number one. Muhammad Ali did it, and all the rest of these are wannabes. That's all they are is wannabes. Amir Khan was a wannabe. Naseem Ahmed was a wannabe.
Well,
but we get to see them all bite the dirt. Okay?
I'm not going to say Floyd's a wannabe. Floyd's undefeated. He's undefeated. He's undefeated.
Well, once again, now we're getting off topic, but that's questionable. You have a couple fights that.
Well, you have the one. You have the one with Jose Luis Castillo, the first one. Okay. But you see what happened when he came back.
I don't care. I don't care.
Jose Luis Castillo, I think, was a very good fighter until he got that ass whooping. Okay, because I don't respect him anymore. He shouldn't be fighting. He just fought not too long ago. But he shouldn't be fighting. I mean, he's another.
When he took from Diego Corrales? Is that the one you're talking about?
Yeah, when Diego came back, that fantastic fight came back, and he's never been the same. And Castillo's another one. They can't make weight anymore. Okay, these fighters tend to always want to have an advantage in the ring, and they use this weight thing. So if they can dehydrate and dry out, and then balloon up 15 pounds fight night, in their mind it gives them that advantage. Okay, so we got to go back to you fight on even ground.
Well, I guess that's what my question is to you. How do you stop fighters from putting the promotion companies from putting, like you said, the HBO, the Showtimes, in a position where the fight has to go on?
Well, see, here's where you have to put money secondary. Okay, so let's take this fight for instance, where it was on HBO, championship fight, Adrien Browner.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't make weight. Okay, so he was imposed a fine, $60,000. They had to make amends to Escobedo, which they should have. But rightfully and truly, if you're going to stop that, that's not going to stop the weight issue. It's going to continue.
Right.
If you're going to really and truly stop that, Adrien Browner should have been suspended for a year. Because a boxer, his career is short.
Yes.
You take away a year from a boxer,
We've seen it happen before.
You hurt him tremendously, or her. You're going to hurt the boxer tremendously. So if a boxer knows if he can't make weight, he's going to be suspended for 360 days.
He won't sign that
You're
contract.
damn right he will make weight. Okay? He will make weight because can you imagine if Adrien Browner was suspended for a year? What would happen to him?
Well,
Palo. Okay?
Yeah.
So let me tell you, if he knew he was going to be suspended for a year, you think he would have made weight?
He'd have made it.
He'd have made weight.
Well, let me ask you this.
He would have stopped them Twinkies, and he would have made weight.
You make an excellent point, but do you think at this point that HBO would be inclined to support that decision?
Absolutely.
By the WBC or
absolutely,
the
because if a fight falls through,
it's on them.
It's HBO that loses. It's the promoter that loses. The fighter don't lose anything.
You think our sanctioning organizations would be willing to step off that cliff?
That's where I think don't, because they are probably just as corrupt as the boxing industry. So that's where the problem is going to be. It's up to the commission to impose suspensions. And they won't do it because they need Adrien Browner, any high-profile fighter, to fight to keep supporting monetary into their organization.
Got you.
Sanctioning bodies need it. Everyone needs it. Okay, so if you take someone like that out of the picture, in a sense, they're cutting their own hands.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's where the problem's going to be, and that's why I've always said, Steve, we need one organization to where all the states can umbrella under. Okay, now I'm not one for more government or for bigger government. Everybody out there that knows me knows I'm not for that at all. But in this case, when it comes to boxing, I think it's needed. I think we need to have a federal commission that makes the standard rules with teeth.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, right now you got the ABC. Okay, but they don't have any teeth.
No.
You can ignore that if you want, and there's nothing that can happen to you. Okay, but if you have a federal law prevails over any local law. So it's going to have to happen. Now, if you do that, I think you're going to get better fights, better competitive fights. You're not going to rule out all the small boxers. Boxers like that that are little clubs that don't have a promoter like Oscar De La Hoya or Bob Arum or Don King to back them up so they can be on TV all the time. Okay, so you're going to give them the opportunity to make. There's a lot of wasted talent out there because they don't have the availability to be shown on TV for the exposure. A lot of good talent out there, and it's just wasted. So.
Well, we'll get into that subject sometime later. And that's going to be a good one. We'll bring in someone from our own, probably our Colorado Boxing Commission, to come in and speak to us. Maybe we can get Lure Joseph Mason, who is the Colorado Boxing Commissioner, to come in and delve into that topic with us. But let's move on a little bit to another fight that was in Cancun, Mexico this weekend, involving our own Denver's own Manny Perez, who was lured down there. I use the word lured down there by the Miguel Angel Cotto people. He's Jose Cotto. I'm sorry.
Well, that's the fighter,
the brother of
but you're
Miguel
right.
Cotto.
It's the same people, okay, the same organization.
But they thought they would lure Manny down there for Manny's title that he has, and things didn't work out their way because Manny was more than prepared. Went down there, handled his business, and brought his title back home. Manny Perez is another kid that I've been a proponent of, that he could easily be a poster boy for boxing because of what he does. Manny has 2 jobs, jobs that he works. He's got 2 kids and a wife, and he boxes. And at the same time, this is a guy who's very humble. He doesn't talk about me. He talks about the sport as being a craft that he works at hard. But here's a guy that if there's ever someone that deserved to be able to have a period of time of radio where he could dedicate solely towards his craft, I think he could possibly be in the mix as a legitimate, I mean, not just a peripheral, but a legitimate king of the light welterweight division.
That's my point. That's my point. Manny Perez has taken the side road. He has taken the hard road, the bumpy road, to where he's at, because you're exactly right. If Manny Perez would be with someone like Top Rank or Golden Boy, and in a situation and the talent that he has, he certainly would be highlighted up there with the world champions. Okay, but because he's not, and because he's from Colorado, he has to go the roundabout way, and he's got to fight in the ring to win. Because as well as I know, when you fight on the road and you come up with a win or a draw, you've done your job. Okay,
oh, yeah.
And that was my point before we switch subject. Is there's a lot of Manny Perez's out there.
Oh yeah,
they're in every state of the union.
That's right.
And these kids work hard. When I boxed, I would go on a bus and travel a bus to Vegas or to somewhere to fight, knowing, you're on a bus for 15 hours, you get off the bus and then you got to go fight. Really, what are your chances? But because you love the sport, you do it.
Right.
Okay, you do it for that opportunity to fight because, and there's so many fighters out there that are talented. I mean, I go to gyms in New Mexico. When I was in Vegas for the training camp up there, Floyd Mayweather's camp, I visited some of the other gyms, Johnny Taco's gym, some of the other gyms. I see the kids in California, the same thing. You can go to virtually any gym out there in any state, and you see these kids working very hard, and they got a lot of talent. And it's very unfortunate that the world will never even know about them. And I assume it's the same way overseas.
Oh yeah.
So basically something has to be done where you don't have all the exposure controlled by, the HBO guys and the Showtime guys and the ESPN guys to pick and choose, because they work with certain promoters, and promoters are going to put their fighters on TV, whether they're first class fighters or not. That's who they're going to use, and they're going to match them up accordingly so they don't lose on TV.
Well, speaking of that, I think all of our viewers saw that just this past week that CBS and Golden Boy Promotions got together, and they're sponsoring a series of bouts between some of our Olympians.
Yes.
And that just when I saw that Aurelio, I had to just shake my head.
But you know what? I like the fact that CBS is trying to get boxing back into the groove. I mean, you remember back, so the youngsters don't remember this, but you remember back where you can go the wide world of sports on any given weekend and you saw a boxing bout.
That was ABC.
I think the networks like CBS, ABC, and all these have to go back to that, but unless, and I want to stress this, unless they put it in their rules and regulations or whatever they want to put it in, that they're going to work with a multitude of promoters all over the place, we're going to fall into that same stream. We're going to see Oscars fighters. Right. We're going to see Bob Arum's fighters. We're going to see, and we're not going to see good fights. You know, I talk to people out there, they're watching the MMA and they're saying, okay, well, these guys, none of them have undefeated records, but I'm going to see a good fight. And you got to say, okay, well, good, they are, because these guys fight to win, okay?
That's right.
In boxing, we have that. We have the fighters out there that are going to fight and they're going to do it, but they're not showing on TV. They're not showing on TV because the promoter controls which fighters are going to be on the card. So for CBS, if you're going to do this with the Olympians, if you're going to continue boxing, boy, I will support that 100,000%. I think we need that kind of exposure, but you can't do it with aligning yourself with one promoter, like a Golden Boy or a Top Rank or a Don King. It's got to be with promoters, small-time promoters, all across the country. And then we're going to see fights.
And that was the point that I made. I said, I had problems initially when the WSB, the World Series of Boxing, came out with their standards. And their thing is that if you sign with them as an amateur, that you're able to have Olympic eligibility, even though you've had pro fights. We've just seen Aurelio in the last month that there's major controversy going with that. You told me in the beginning, once you fight as a pro, you're paid as a pro, you gotta have a pro record.
Once you get a purse.
Well, now these guys that have signed with the WSB, we found out from California and Florida that that's exactly what California and Florida have done. Those fights that they've had, they're considering those as pro records. And so now it's going to be almost impossible for a guy who was considered to be one of the elite boxers in the world, signing with the WSB. Say his record, he goes to the WSB and his record is
because he got losses now.
His record is 2-2.
He has losses.
Just say he's 2-2.
Yeah.
What promoter is going to sign a guy that's 2-2?
No.
They're looking for guys that are 3-4-0.
That's my point. That's my point. In boxing, they weigh too much on this undefeated, and that's why fighters will not fight anybody out there. That's where you get to pick and choose, okay? Because unless you have an undefeated record, no one's going to pay attention to you as far as the big money. Yes. HBO don't want to put you on TV. Showtime don't want to put you on TV. Even ESPN ain't gonna want to put you on TV unless you're an opponent for the promoter putting the show on.
Right.
Okay, so I agree with you. Them guys that thought they had this golden spoon are surprised, and I told you that when they first did it. They are now recording a professional record, and them losses they get in them tournaments, guess what? They go on their professional record. You can't change that. It would be unfair to the rest of the world if you were just erased them losses.
Well, that's what we felt that in the beginning, but Dr. Wu and the rest of the members of the WSB had assured everyone that no, that's not going to be the case. They told us they were under the umbrella of that USOC was on board.
Yep.
And they were, but like you said, that's the USOC.
That's the USOC.
When we come to the world,
it doesn't change that. They still have Olympic eligibility, but
well, I can tell you that has even gone out the window because there's not a participant other than Rashid Warren from Cincinnati, Ohio. Rashid Warren is the only Olympian that participated in the WSB who's on the Olympic team.
Yeah.
So it's turned out to be.
So it turns out to be a mess. I mean, and that's nothing new. I mean, you remember back when they had the Contender on TV.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I don't know if people knew this, but if you were going to be a participant in the Contender, like the Latin Snake,
Mora,
Manfredo, any of them fighters that participated in the Contender Series, okay? They signed a contract, okay? So now the Contender, that organization became the fighter became their property. In other words, when the Contender Series was over with, they couldn't just go out and fight for any promoter or on any card.
They were still under their umbrella.
They had to be approved by this organization, the Contender.
Yes.
They now manage their career. They now control their career.
Yes.
And why do you have to pay such a high price to try to get exposure?
Exactly.
Bingo.
But it's about trying to, like you said earlier, trying to provide for your family, and everyone knows that it's a tough road to travel.
It's a very tough road. It's a very tough road.
Anybody to take care of you financially, and so once again, we just want to congratulate Manny Perez on his performance.
And I do too. We're talking about Colorado. Manny's doing his thing. He's going out there. There was a time where the Colorado fighters just weren't recognized like other states out there. We all seen Colorado fighters as opponents because that's the way the TV portrayed Colorado fighters.
Emmanuel Stewart, you guys won't forget about Emmanuel Stewart. Man.
He said it on national TV.
Well, and what made it worse was when he said it was that fight when Regis Prescott and Mike Alvarado were going, and he made the comment at a time that, to be honest, Regis Prescott was totally in control of the fight. But those of us in Colorado and those that have followed Mike Alvarado's career know that he's got a lot of pit bull in him. He's not going to quit. And we all know that. Everyone here knows, I mean no secret, I'm a huge fan of Regis Prescott. I'm a huge fan of him. Yeah, but I know that his thing is that if that bell rings, and I've said it before, if that bell rings for the 5th round and you're still standing, you got a shot. Because for 4 rounds, hey, he's Butterbean Jr., man. He's for 4 rounds, he's hell on wheels. If you can take him for 4 rounds, but Mike Alvarado did that. But to hear Emmanuel Stewart have to eat his own words, and he has yet to apologize or acknowledge that he was wrong about that. And you're right, he won't.
Because he don't think he's wrong.
Well, and that's why we're going to have to prove to him that he's wrong.
Well,
we're going to have to
that's what I'm saying. With
Manny
going
Perez
out
or
there,
Mike Alvarado or Rob Frankel, we're going to get these guys. We've got Raul Carrillo coming up. We've got Pablo Gomez. We've got some guys
you've got some fighters here that are going to fight. I mean, they're going to fight. And, unfortunately, they're going to have to take that road like Manny. They're going to have to take the side road.
Don't let me forget Alfred the Tornado Romero. Don't let me forget Alfred. That's my boy.
That's right. That's right.
We got some.
But we've got, and I just think that we've got to support fighters that give it 100% in the gym. Not only in Colorado.
Around the country.
Around the country, because you can go to any gym. You can go to New York in some of them gyms and look how hard these fighters train and prepare for the club fights that, in many cases, they fight on the card and they don't get paid. And when I say they don't get paid is because I mean they don't get paid.
Yeah,
they get paid in tickets.
$300.
But no, they don't get paid.
Well, I mean after they sell their tickets.
But that's not monetary. They get paid tickets. So in other words, if they're going to make any money, they have to sell their tickets.
So they're hustling twice. They got to hustle in the ring and they got to hustle outside.
And they have to go out there to try to make some money. They got to try to sell their friends. And in most cases, they never sell all their tickets. They end up giving them away to their moms and their dads and their uncles and aunts and their good friends and their trainers and their trainers' friends and their stable mates and stuff. So virtually they end up fighting for nothing, But they train hard. They go in there and they fight hoping that someone will acknowledge them. Okay? Yeah. That's what I'm saying. So it's time that we as fans have to go on this movement and convince the CBSs and these other ones, because I really liked the idea when I read about CBS and the Olympics until I read that they were aligning themselves for Golden Boy.
And that was the same thing I did.
And then it was just like a ton of bricks just fell and says, a good idea that's going to turn out the same as all the other exposures.
Exactly, because really you don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure out that just any person with any type of rationale would say, this gives Golden Boy an inside track on signing one of these kids. Yeah. And that's all we want to rule out. We want to say everybody on the same level playing field at all times. And like you said, I'm very proud of, as you are, the fact that one thing that we know that goes around the country, but because we're here locally, our guys have allegiance to their own managers and promoters.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and sometimes that is a detriment, but most of the time it's still a positive, because if you've had a guy that you've been with that forever, you know, most of these guys realize at a certain point, this guy's bigger than me, and they will sell and move on. It's still a business. Don't get me wrong. It's still a business in that. But just the idea that there's an allegiance that you have to a guy, you know, and you can be honest with him and let him say, hey, you know, I've got this opportunity to make more money, and it doesn't include you, and he'll say, yeah, but that's fine.
And you know, Steve, what I'm saying is you know me, I put the local cards, the club fights together. You know, small time fights. I've contacted your ESPNs, I've contacted your HBOs and do a fight. But you know, I don't have the name as Oscar De La Hoya or Bob Arum. I mean, who does? Okay, right. So. But I'm going to tell you something right now, and I'll tell everybody out there. HBO, Showtime, they turn around and they give you $50,000, $60,000 to put on a show. Their quality to put on HBO. Okay, I guarantee you, if they worked with me and gave me the $50,000, the fans would get a fight out there. They'd get a show where they would be given a standing ovation. Okay, because I wouldn't be concerned with matching my fighter so he gets a win on national TV. Okay? I'm going to give the fans what they want. I'm going to give them a fight.
And that's
but they won't work with the small time promoter like me or the small time promoters around the country, because you got the politics of boxing.
And that's another subject. Like we said, we got so many things we're going to get into. But we just wanted to say that, you know, once again, thanks for being with us. We're going to be back on top of some of these topics that are getting. We've got so much going on here now with the Olympics coming up.
Oh, you bet.
We're going to have some conversations with some of the Olympians and what their aspirations are. I'm sure all of you will be following. In case you aren't aware, you know, NBC. Well, it's www.nbcolympics.com. They're going to have coverage of not just boxing, but every sporting event in the Olympics from start to finish. Okay. We don't have them yet, haven't got a price that it's going to cost you, but you're going to be able to get it on your phones, you're going to have it on it's going to be internet, there's going to be everywhere you can get it. So for you people who say, I want to see everything in the Olympics, they're going to give it to you this year, and it's going to be quite amazing. I'm not one of those people. I don't want to see, I don't care to see the weightlifting, I don't care to see synchronized swimming, fencing. Those are my things, but for some of you they are. And
I like synchronized swimming, especially when they all kind of go underwater. You know.
Okay. Here we go. But anyway, no, we're gonna have a lot more subjects come up in our future. We've got a fight card coming up here with Steve Mestis and Airtight Productions, which is going to be on August 31st. We're gonna have a card that's loaded with Colorado talent. Hopefully we can get Manuel Stewart in here so he can see that Colorado has some top-notch fun. We're going to make that offer to him to get his butt in here
and watch a fight. Watch a real fight. As a matter of fact, look forward. We're going to have guests. We'll have Robert Frankel, Red Hot.
Red Hot.
And you can talk to one of the fighters that's taking the hard road, going out there and fighting anyone and doing a good job at it. We're going to invite different people in studio here to talk to you. Hopefully we'll get the Manny Perez in here. We'll have...
we're going to have Manny Perez.
And we're even going to invite Adrien Browner, because he's got his Colorado connection and he's in town in Colorado Springs from time to time. There's a lot of training here. So stay tuned to our shows, and we're just going to keep bringing you the best. We're going to bring the issues. And Steve, you know, like we say, we make boxing because we talk boxing the way we see it is the way we talk about it.
And you know what? One of the things we want to make sure we do, we're not going to forget about you females. I know that you're interested in some of our boxers, and because we're here in Denver, Colorado, locally it'll be a lot. We're going to have Lisa Amaya in studio. We're going to have
nice-looking
Lily
boxer.
Lozano.
Nice-looking boxer.
We'll have Maddie Ortega in. We've got some top-notch women boxers here in Colorado, and we're going to make them part of the program too. And as usual, we're always open to suggestions for topics or guests. www.insideboxing.com. You can always reach Raylio Martinez there, or myself, Stephen Johnson. And on that note, Aurelio,
send us a question. Before we do our getaway. Just a prediction for everybody. Christy Martin, on the topic of girls, and Mia St. John. Who you got?
I have them both being totally exhausted in the fight, being stopped by the referee for non-competitiveness. Not a concern of mine.
Oh man, don't want to pick a winner. You know what? I almost want to say I'd like to see this come out in a draw.
It will be a draw.
Okay, I think Mia St. John will win the fight simply because
Christy Martin's too old.
Christy Martin's getting up there in age.
No. Let's just call it what it is. They're going to call it a draw. So both of them walk off and everybody seems to be happy about it. This, to me, is another one of the travesties in the sport. There's no need to have that. You got competitive women out there who are really willing to fight. Cecilia Brækhus, as I told you,
beautiful fight.
And Sophie Mathis, that is going to be a fight.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got Mariana Juarez. You know, we've got some girls that can fight.
Yeah, so we're going to bring you. We're going to bring you the
one of the has-beens. I'll tell you what, Aurelio. They want to have, Christy Martin and Mia St. John. I mean, some of the old has-beens. Okay, let's get some fights for me and you, and maybe we'll get Jess Mora. We'll get fights to some of the old guys. I mean, if that's what it's going to be about.
We're going to bring you the real deal. There's a lot of female boxers out there that are excellent fighters. We're going to discuss them. We're going to talk to them. We'll call them on the phone. We'll talk to them live. We're going to bring you the scoop on the female scene because they deserve the credit. They work just as hard. They train just as hard. And when they get in that ring, they put their life on the line just like any other boxer. So we're going to make it a point to bring you that news as well.
And just so you guys remember, 2012 was the first year ever that we're having an Olympic female boxing competition. Representing the United States at flyweight, we have Marlon Esparza from Houston, Texas. Okay, at middleweight, we have Queen Underwood from Seattle, Washington. And at heavyweight, it's light heavyweight, I believe, but it's Clarissa Shields from Flint, Michigan. So congratulations to those three. We're going to follow them throughout their Olympic effort and wish them the best of luck.
Good. And stay tuned, because we're also going to talk about the USA boxing, the Haladonis era that looks like is behind us. We're going to see where they're going.
Dr. Charles Butler is the new president.
We're going to talk about which direction they're moving into, good, bad, perfect, whatever. But we're going to stay on this thing. Okay.
You got it, Aurelio.
So until next time, Steve.
As usual,
keep them hands up.
Keep them up.